Hi, how you doing? Okay, we're going to get started now setting up our scene and basically getting straight into the project. So, I've got my four main panes here, and the main one I'm going to be using is perspective, as usual. I occasionally will duck into the top or front or left. If I need to, I will, but mainly I tend to work in perspective. Now, as a preference, you can work in expert mode, which is Control and X, if you would like. I can do that, but obviously some people are going to want to see what I'm pressing. Otherwise it becomes more of a let's watch what Chris is doing kind of exercise. Now, the first piece we're going to be making today is one of the arms. Now, our Pariah has 4 arms, 4 tentacles and 2 legs. None of the arms really have fingers or articulated, although there is a basic thumb claw on one of the claws. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the mechanical arm, alright? And for this one, what I'm going to do to make things a tiny bit easy for me, I'm going to drop into the front viewport here and kind of work out the rough shapes I'm going to be working with. So press F3, I'm in F4. So I'm not going to use these as backplane images because I want to do this as a kind of freehand exercise if I can, but these are the sizes of the pieces that I'm looking at for the Pariah's arm unit. Now if we look at it, you see, just drawing another box here, this is basically the ball joint that connects to the body. This is the round kind of sickle control for this, which is our sickle claw, and this is the mechanical mounting system for it. The way I'm looking at it at the minute, it's only got 3 points of articulation, which is going to save us some time, and it's going to rig pretty nicely. And the piece we're going to start with is down here, which is the ball unit. So here again are our pieces, just put all basic, and like I said, this can be our ball unit here. So what I'm going to do is start straight off with a sphere, and I'm just going to pull it out into shape here, and this will give me a piece to start working from. Now we're going to be working with high polygons, really high polygon. So I'm going to slam this down to 24 for the minute, convert to editable poly, turn on angle snap and a rotate. Just stick this at 90 degrees, just about here. Now I'm not going to build on top of this, I'm going to have this just as a background piece for my own reference, and pull that to about there. Now this is going to be, and I'm considering this is our right arm we're looking at, right mech arm mount, okay, ball socket, well, ball, because the other one's going to be the ball socket. Now if I zoom in on this, before I start actually modifying it, I'm going to take this part here, let's go around it, make sure it's even, do a quick shift and drag, just a tiny one like that, clone it to object. Okay, and this will be left mech arm mounting ball socket. Okay, just so I know what each part is. Okay, now if I take my socket here, okay, first thing I'm going to do is select all these and just flip them like that. Now I'm going to apply a tiny amount of push. So I'm going to go to my modifiers and just go down here to push, and you can have a negative or a positive value push. I'm going to have a slightly negative one so that it pushes them out like that, and then I'll just convert to editable poly, which will collapse it again, and then I'm just going to grab this border, get my scale tool, do a shift, one button, and just drag that out like that. Okay, and that'll give us this mounting area here, and then pull it back, and again just scale it like that. Okay, That way that bit's done. Now, because this is going to rotate, we can't extrude over the we can't extrude over the diameter of this one here. Okay, what I mean by that is I can't kind of go I'm going to extrude these big blocks here, because as soon as I extrude these big blocks here, that means that this part can't go in. Okay, this will stop it. We've got to think logistically, you've got to think ergonomically. That's what the whole kind of obelisk set was all about, remember, if you've seen that. If you haven't, go get it. Now, what we're going to do is grab this here, do a quick loop, Control select by polygon, and this is our initial mount here, so I'm just going to delete it, and this is what's going to mount onto our actual electronic control arm, so just cap that off. Okay, so now we've got some detail areas, and if we look at this, we can see, if I just break it off, that we can divide this into certain areas like this, because of the amount of segments we've got. Okay, and that is ideal for our needs. Okay, so rather than reduce these back, what I'm going to do, extrude those out rather, what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude inwards the elements that would make up the middle of this. Alright, so what I can do for the moment is just move this backwards, because I can use the whole kind of align tool, which is just here, to get it back into the right place exactly. And let's find these areas here. I'm going to go around the entire piece, and this is called needless detailing. This is kind of one of my favourite things about sci-fi. When I first started seeing 3D and I saw like massively over detailed pieces, all I could think to myself was, I've got to try that. So what we're doing here is we're creating needless detail, and we're giving it a rationale for its existence. So these things here, if you've ever wondered how a ball joint in sci-fi is going to work, well, in reality a ball joint's operated obviously by looping muscle, kind of looping over the top of your arms and just clicking all back facing, or between your fingers, or whatever, and basically making everything work. In sci-fi we're not using muscle if we're creating a big mechanical piece, obviously, so we have to kind of justify, depending on the context in which this is going to be used. If it's Pixar, it's just going to look cute and nice and no one's going to question it, but for us we have to question how it's going to be doing what it's doing. And for that, we're going to have small tracks and pins and pinions and all sorts of things like that. Now then, we're going to extrude this. Now if you notice, it'll go straight to extrude out, which is kind of a bit messy. Okay, we'll change it to local normal. And now if you look, it shoots straight out from its actual normals of each polygon. And what I'm going to do is bring these in just a little bit like that. Okay, and click OK. Now I'm going to do it again. Just bring it back a little bit more, like that, and click OK. Now I'll take each of these just here, by the way, I hope you enjoyed doing detail work. I really do, yeah? Because if you don't, you're probably not going to have a great time. Although don't worry, we'll be optimising it and doing funky things with it as well. Okay, now we've got these, we'll go to chamfer, and we're just going to chamfer it a little bit wide. There we go. Like that. Now, Control select by, do that, and just shrink. Now we can go and select these nice and easily, and 4 of them are already selected for us. And it is a nice shape too. There we go. Okay, next. Just going to take my extrude here, and we're going to extrude it out this time. Okay, like that. and click OK. That gives us these kind of middle tracks coming out. Like that. Okay, now we can tessellate this, which will kind of bring these in, but unfortunately it kind of splits the middle, which we really don't want. So this is one of those occasions where we're going to have to basically select these and click loop. You notice how I kind of zoom around my model a lot. This is why I tend to use the perspective a lot. I'm basically constantly a bit like a sculptor picking up his object, except quite the opposite way round. There we are. Okay, now we use a connect. Okay, and click OK. Okay, now Control Select By, and we've just selected the polygons again. Now we're going to insert by polygon. You may have noticed already we're racking up them polygons. Extrude. Like so. And that gives us these little pegs coming out. Now you may notice some of them need to be straightened. Click OK. Now we're getting to a point where it'd be useful to be able to work just on kind of one and have it copy all the way across. So what I'm going to do is find a good point to do this on. Take that piece. Oops, had ignore back facing turned off. Okay, now I'm going to click grow. Like that. And again. And that should give us, let's have a look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 1/4 of the piece. So Control I and then delete the rest of it. And now I can come in nice and close over here and do some tidy up work. Grab these. Like that. And just line up the polygons a bit because there's a nasty space there which you may think no one would notice, but trust me, they will. Okay, we want these little teeth in here so that we can lock and maneuver our arm, or at least give the impression that that's how we're doing it. Smoke and mirrors. It's all smoke and mirrors. Because of course how we're really doing it's an invisible IK chain. But no one else needs to know that. Whoops, wrong piece. Lots of patience required in the field of 3D. If you haven't got patience, I suggest you go and do something else. And don't ask if there's a plugin that can speed up your stuff. Just learn Max scripting if that's what you want to do. There we go. Okay. Straighten this one out. So you can see how this is starting to work now. We've got this kind of tread coming in here. And again. Now obviously because it's not curved, we're getting these kind of gaps between it. You've got to remember, I mean, a perfect curve this most assuredly ain't. However, it looks curved enough, and that's kind of what we're aiming for. Oops. Managed to slip the wrong piece again. I do that a lot. There we go. Like that. Okay, pull back. So now you can see we've got this piece here kind of stuck together like that. Now, looking over the concept artwork again, just to make sure that we're getting everything that we kind of need to. I'm just going to grab here, shift and drag. The reason I do this is I'll be deleting this in a minute, but I just need to make a recessed piece. You'll see what I mean in just a moment. That's inset by group. Let's change that to by polygon. Let's change that to by group. There. Now, quick bevel. Actually, no, I'll just make that a simple extrude. There we go. Should be extruding by normal. Now, quick trim. Like I said, we don't need these pieces. They're just here so that we get the shape on these bits here. Okay. Right. Then our rotate tool, make sure angle snap's turned on. Hold down shift, I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. And just copy it a couple of times. Well, 3 to be precise. Okay, now you'll notice big bloomin' holes. We can fix those in just a minute. So what I'm going to do is just attach all this together. Now sometimes it's easier to isolate our selection, so I'll do that. Now I can find these holes here. And what I'm going to do is start selecting them and collapsing them. All you have to do, and if I do it this way, they'll be collapsed in the exact middle, rather than if I use, for example, a target weld, where they wouldn't be. Zoom in on those. You can see there's a crossover just there, for example. So I can fix that really easily. Again, just use a collapse. See, the benefit of this is it saved us a lot of time fixing all these jags. Otherwise we'd have had to, well, we'd have had to do all sorts of things really to get these fixed. Not least of which was change the world space coordinates so that they were all extruding in the right direction. Never select more than 2 at once. You can't collapse 2 pairs because it'll just collapse them to 1 point. Okay. Gosh, time flies when you're having fun. Collapse. Collapse. Then round to this side. And this piece. Okay, just collapse that. Then up to here. Alright, now Control A, I'm going to do a quick weld. Now I've got to be careful here because there's going to be a lot of verts that will vanish if we're not very careful. Okay, that should do it. And now this should be a solid mesh again, and it is. Select by element always kind of breaks it down into separate meshes if you haven't got them done. Ooh, we missed a bit. Get these fixed. Like that. There, okay. So, that worked quite well. Pardon me. What I'm going to do now is grab some of these. Just use the select tool rather than select and move. That way we won't utterly balls our model up. Remember, if you're offended by the word balls, then you're probably 6. There we go. Never understood that whole tutorials thing where people kind of talk in tutorials and treat you as if you're 5. Now you're not offended by the word balloon, are you, Billy? Because we're going to make a balloon. You know? It's like bollocks. If you're not an adult and you're using this, then chances are you just downloaded it illegally, thinking it's porn. Okay, so, you know, tough. Anyway, back to this. Oops. Better turn on ignore back facing. Otherwise I'm going to end up with some holes that I don't want. I think I need to buy a new workstation soon. There we go. Extrude by local normal. Just a little bit. There we are. Press F4, have a look at the shape. Now, it is rough as a badger's bum, to be quite honest. However, if I just cap that off, it can be smoothed. I'm going to simple smooth it just using, you know, that. There we go. Okay, it's just a simple smooth. It does overdo it quite a lot. However, it gives us our basic piece back. And now we can exit isolation mode. And if I grab this and just align it to that. Should have aligned the pivot really, but never mind. Let's bring that back. Okay, so you can see now pretty much how this is going to kind of fit inside this. If I just use my rotate tool, you can see it kind of rotates freely. And we get the idea that it's moving and being able to be manipulated using the teeth that are kind of embedded into it, yeah? Which is a kind of a cunning trick and a way of doing those sort of things. Okay, so next piece we'll move on to then. We'll start attaching the actual mechanical arm piece and a few hoses and things like that. And possibly do some more details on this. Until then, see you next time. Bye bye for now.